You and I are standing here today because deep down, we know there is more to life than what we've already achieved. We know there's another level of joy, another level of success, another level of contribution, another level of power. But what unlocks that next level? It's not luck, it's not talent, it's not even hard work alone, it's knowledge, applied knowledge. Let me tell you something. Knowledge in its raw form is potential power. It's the seed, but a seed alone doesn't make a forest. It's only when you plant it, nourish it, and act on it that it becomes unstoppable. Every breakthrough in your life, whether in your relationships, your business, your health, or your finances, will come down to one thing: gaining the right knowledge and using it. Now here's the truth most people miss. We are living in the most extraordinary time in human history. The entire knowledge of the world is sitting in your pocket. You can learn anything, you can master any skill, you can connect with the greatest minds across the planet, but most people don't. Why? Because they confuse information with knowledge. You can scroll all day long and still be broke, still be unhappy, still be stuck. Why? Because knowing about something is not the same as knowing it, and knowing it is not the same as living it. Knowledge becomes power only when you integrate it into your life. When it becomes part of your decision making, when it drives your actions every single day. And I want to challenge you right now. What is one area of your life where you've been waiting? One area where you've been saying, "I'll figure it out someday," or "I already know enough"? Stop lying to yourself. The greatest achievers on earth, the happiest people, the healthiest people, the wealthiest people, they are obsessed with learning. They are relentless about growth, because they know something the average person forgets. If you're not growing, you're dying. Knowledge is not static. The world is changing every moment, and if you're standing still, you are falling behind. But when you commit, and I mean fully commit, to becoming a lifelong learner, something happens inside you. You develop an edge, you develop certainty, you develop a power no one can take from you. Your body can be taken, your possessions can be taken, but your knowledge, when it's integrated and embodied, is yours forever. So today, I invite you to raise your standards. Stop settling for what you know today. Feed your mind like your life depends on it, because it does. Find the mentors, read the books, take the courses. Have the hard conversations, experiment, fail, learn, grow, because in the end, life rewards those who turn knowledge into action, into momentum, into mastery. And the best part, the more you learn and apply, the more you realize how much more is possible. So step up, feed your mind, live with curiosity, and remember the power of knowledge is not in what you know. It's in what you do with what you know. Let's go. Knowledge by itself is not enough. We've all heard that phrase, knowledge is power. But let's tell the truth. Knowledge is only potential power. It's like a battery sitting on a shelf. Until you plug it in and use it, nothing changes. It just sits there, full of possibility, but making no impact. That's what most people are doing, gathering information, collecting books, watching videos, attending seminars, but not doing anything with what they've learned. They confuse movement with progress. They think because they've heard it, because they understand it, they've mastered it. But mastery doesn't come from exposure. It comes from execution. Think about it. How many times have you read something inspirational, nodded your head, felt fired up, and then went right back to your usual routine the next day? That's the trap. We feel good because we're learning, but feeling good doesn't equal growing. Growth demands action. It demands implementation. That's the difference between people who dabble and those who dominate. The people who win in life are the ones who take what they know and do something with it immediately, consistently, relentlessly. There are people out there right now with half your knowledge, half your experience, half your intelligence, but they're getting 10 times the results. Why? Because they execute. They take imperfect action. They don't wait to know enough. They use what they have and learn the rest along the way. Meanwhile, others are still sitting on the sidelines, overanalyzing, reading another book, waiting to feel ready. This is where the shift needs to happen. Knowledge is the spark, it can ignite the fire, but it is not the fire. The fire comes from your drive, your hunger, your willingness to step into the unknown and apply what you've learned. You could have read 100 books on fitness, but unless you've laced up your shoes, gone to the gym, and started sweating, you don't know it. You could listen to every podcast on business, but until you start the business, make the call, take the risk, it's just noise. What matters is what you do. Knowledge without action is a form of procrastination dressed up as progress. People use learning as a way to delay facing their fears. They say, I just need to learn a little more. But what they really mean is, I'm afraid to fail. Here's the truth, you will fail. That's part of the process, but failing with action beats succeeding in theory every time. You don't need more time, more certifications, more credentials. You need more courage. You need more execution. Real knowledge is earned, not from reading, but from doing, from testing, from applying, from failing forward. You start to know something when it becomes part of who you are, not just something you remember. You don't become confident by knowing the steps, you become confident by taking the steps. You don't build strength by understanding the workout, you build strength by lifting the weight. There's a gap between knowing and doing, and your life will change the moment you decide to close that gap. There's power in speed, power in momentum. When you apply knowledge quickly, you turn possibility into progress. You learn faster. You grow faster. You own what you've learned because it's no longer a concept, it's part of your reality. When you act on knowledge, you build trust with yourself. You prove to your brain, when I learn something useful, I don't just file it away, I move. I make decisions. I create outcomes. This is what separates the few from the many. The world is full of educated people living unfulfilled lives, degrees on the wall, yet stuck in fear. Smart people broke, miserable, lost. Why? Because knowing better doesn't mean doing better. You have to act on what you know. Every piece of knowledge you gain is a gift, but the value of that gift is only unlocked when you put it to work. You have to squeeze the juice out of it, apply it to your health, apply it to your finances, apply it to your relationships, apply it to your leadership. Otherwise, it's just potential sitting on a shelf, going stale. And you were not built for potential, you were built to fulfill it. That means action. That means movement. That means turning knowledge into power and power into change. We live in an era of endless information. More is coming at us every single day than our ancestors encountered in a lifetime. You can open your phone right now and get access to thousands of books, podcasts, courses, social media posts, and videos. It's all there 24/7 on demand. But here's the trap. Having access to information is not the same as having wisdom. Knowing about something is not the same as knowing it. And knowing it is still not the same as living it. People today are drowning in information but starving for wisdom. They think because they can quote something or because they've heard it 100 times, they've mastered it. That's not mastery, that's familiarity. Being familiar with an idea does not mean you own it. You don't own it until you've used it, tested it, experienced it, and integrated it into your life. Until it's automatic. Until it shows up in how you act, how you make decisions, how you live when no one is watching. That's the difference between someone who knows what health is and someone who is living in peak physical state. That's the difference between someone who can talk about wealth and someone who is actually financially free. The world is full of armchair experts, people who sound smart but are stuck. They're addicted to information. They think learning more will solve everything, but learning alone is not the answer. It's not what you know, it's what you embody. It's what you do consistently. We've all met someone who can recite 100 motivational quotes, but still wakes up every day stuck in fear and doubt. Why? Because they're mistaking information for transformation. They're consuming, but they're not integrating. They're filling their mind, but leaving their heart and their habits unchanged. You can listen to every podcast in the world on relationships, but if you don't pick up the phone and connect, if you don't have the hard conversations, If you don't love deeply, it's all worthless. It's noise. Real wisdom is earned through experience, through struggle, through application. It's not reading about leadership, it's leading when it's hard. It's not watching videos on sales, it's picking up the phone and hearing no until you figure it out. It's not understanding gratitude intellectually, it's waking up every day and feeling it in your bones no matter what's happening in your life. Too many people have become spectators of life, sitting in the stands, watching others take the field, thinking if they just learn a little more, they'll be ready. But life doesn't reward spectators. Life rewards players. You want wisdom, get on the field, risk, act, reflect, adjust. That's how wisdom is built. And here's the truth most people avoid. The more information you consume without action, the more overwhelmed and paralyzed you become. It's like filling a glass that's already full eventually, it just spills over and makes a mess. That's what happens in your mind when you're constantly consuming but not creating, not moving. You start to feel stuck, confused, disconnected. Why? Because deep down, your soul knows you're out of integrity. You're not living what you know. And until you align what you know with how you live, that tension will only grow. Wisdom is simple. It's clear. It's grounded in experience. It comes from the moments when you stop reading and start doing. When you move from theory to practice. That's when ideas come alive. That's when they shape who you are. Until then, you're just carrying around a library in your head, heavy, impressive maybe, but useless if you're not applying it. The next time you find yourself reaching for another book, another video, another podcast, ask yourself, am I using what I already know? If the answer is no, stop consuming and start applying. Master the basics, execute the fundamentals, live what you've learned, because when you do that, something magical happens. The information transforms into wisdom. It moves from your head to your heart to your hands, and that's when you become unstoppable. Most people stop learning the moment they leave school. They graduate, they get the degree, they land the job, and somewhere along the way, they put their growth on pause. They think, I've made it. Now I just need to work hard and maintain what I have. And that mindset is one of the greatest traps you can fall into. Because here's the truth, if you're not growing, you're dying. There is no standing still in life. The world is moving forward, the competition is moving forward, technology is moving forward. If you're standing still, you're actually falling behind. Lifelong learning isn't a luxury anymore, it's a necessity. It's not something you do when you have extra time or when it's convenient. It's something you must build into your life by design. Because when you commit to continuous learning, you unlock new possibilities. You discover new capabilities inside yourself that you didn't even know were there. You expand your vision of what's possible. And you build an unfair advantage because most people around you have stopped growing. Now here's something important to understand. Lifelong learning isn't about random consumption. It's not about reading every book on the shelf or watching every video on YouTube. It's about intentional growth. It's about identifying the skills, the mindsets, the strategies that will move you forward in your life, and then deliberately mastering them. It's about taking ownership of your development instead of waiting for life to teach you by chance. The most successful people in the world are obsessed with learning. They are constantly feeding their minds. They never believe they've arrived. They are relentless about asking questions, seeking new perspectives, and challenging their own thinking. They read, they listen, they watch, but most importantly, they apply. They know that the more they learn, the more they can contribute. The more they grow, the more value they can create for others. Now think about this. Your income, your impact, your influence, they will rarely exceed your level of personal growth. If you want more in life, you must become more. If you want to lead, you must grow into the kind of person people want to follow. If you want to create extraordinary results, you must develop extraordinary skills. And that only happens through lifelong learning. One of the most dangerous beliefs you can have is thinking you already know enough. The moment you think you've figured it out, you've already started falling behind, because the world is changing fast. What worked yesterday won't necessarily work tomorrow. The markets change, industries evolve, new technologies emerge, and human behavior shifts. If you're not adapting, if you're not growing, if you're clinging to what worked in the past, you will be left behind. But when you adopt the mindset of a lifelong learner, you become flexible, you become resilient. You become adaptable, you can pivot when needed, you can seize opportunities that others miss. You can reinvent yourself when the world changes because you've built the capacity to grow, not just the habit of staying comfortable. And here's the beautiful part, learning compounds. The more you learn, the easier it becomes to learn more. The more skills you develop, the faster you can acquire new ones. It's like building a muscle. In the beginning, it's hard, it takes effort, but over time it becomes second nature. You develop the habit of curiosity, you fall in love with learning, and that habit will serve you for life. Another key is this: don't limit your learning to one area. Yes, become world-class in your field, but also expand beyond it. Study psychology, study communication, study leadership, study health and energy, study relationships, because life is multidimensional. Your success in one area will be influenced by your growth in others. The more well-rounded you are, the more effective you'll become. And remember, this lifelong learning is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about showing up every day with a hungry mind and an open heart. It's about being willing to look at what you don't know and dive in anyway. It's about staying humble enough to keep growing, no matter how much you've achieved. Because at the end of the day, life doesn't reward what you used to know. It rewards what you're learning right now and how you're using it to create, to serve, and to lead. Most people think success comes from knowing more. They believe that if they can just read one more book, attend one more seminar, or listen to one more podcast, then they'll finally be ready to take action. But here's the truth: knowledge without action is worthless. It's like having a map and never taking a single step toward the destination. The bridge between where you are now and where you want to be is not more information, it's action. Massive, consistent, intelligent action. There are millions of smart people out there who are broke. Millions of educated people who are unhealthy. Millions of well-informed people who are miserable. Why? Because they never took the knowledge they had and applied it in a way that produced results. The game of life is not about how much you know, it's about what you do with what you know. Every time you learn something valuable, you are faced with a choice. You can file it away in the back of your mind, convincing yourself you'll use it someday. Or you can act on it immediately and turn that potential into real-world power. The people who create extraordinary lives choose action every time. They know that ideas are cheap, execution is everything. Now, let's be honest, the reason most people don't take action is fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough, so they hide behind preparation. They keep learning, researching, planning, but what they're really doing is avoiding the risk of stepping into the arena. But here's the paradox: the only way to build confidence, the only way to overcome fear, is through action. You don't wait to feel ready, you act your way into readiness. Action is the cure for fear. The moment you start moving, the fear starts to shrink. You prove to yourself that you can handle it. You gather real-world feedback that no amount of theory can give you. You start to build momentum, and momentum is power. One small action taken consistently can create a ripple effect that changes your entire life. Now, when I say massive action, I don't mean reckless action. I mean action driven by clarity, purpose, and a commitment to improvement. It's about moving forward boldly, learning from the process, and adjusting as you go. You will make mistakes, that's guaranteed, but mistakes are the price of progress. Every successful person you admire has failed more times than most people have even tried. They just failed forward. They used every setback as a stepping stone, not a stop sign. One of the most powerful habits you can build is the habit of immediate implementation. When you learn something valuable, don't just nod your head, take one action to apply it right away. The faster you implement, the more you reinforce the learning. It moves from your head into your muscle memory. It becomes part of who you are, not just something you know about. And understand this, the world rewards speed. Opportunities don't wait. If you hesitate, you miss out. If you're too busy perfecting your plan, someone else will execute theirs and take the prize. Success loves speed and punishes indecision. That doesn't mean you act without thinking. It means you think quickly and then move decisively.
Another thing to remember is that small actions matter. You don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight. Start with one simple action, executed consistently. Success is not about grand gestures, it's about small disciplines practiced daily.
One call, one workout, one conversation, one new habit. Over time, these small actions compound and create massive results. And here's the final key. Don't fall in love with learning. Fall in love with doing. Let learning fuel your action, not replace it. The ultimate test of knowledge is not whether you can remember it, it's whether you can live it. Whether it shows up in your decisions, your habits, your results. That's what matters. That's what transforms lives. So stop waiting. Stop preparing endlessly. You already know enough to take the next step. Move, act, execute. Because the power is not in what you know, it's in what you do with what you know. Your greatest asset is not your bank account. It's not your body. It's not your job title. Your greatest asset is your mind. Because everything you achieve, every result you create, every relationship you build, every challenge you overcome, it all begins in your mind. Your beliefs, your thoughts, your focus, your mental state, these are the drivers of your destiny. But here's the challenge. Most people spend more time protecting their phone than protecting their mind. They guard their passwords but leave their thinking open to whatever negativity or noise the world throws at them. They scroll endlessly through social media, absorb toxic news, engage in gossip, and then wonder why they feel stuck, anxious, or unmotivated. You cannot fill your mind with garbage and expect to produce gold. You must become a fierce guardian of your mental environment. Think of your mind like a garden. If you don't plant the seeds of positivity, growth, and possibility, weeds will take over. Fear, doubt, jealousy, scarcity, these weeds grow automatically if you don't consciously choose what to feed your mind. And once those weeds take root, they choke out your potential. They cloud your judgment. They limit your actions. They sabotage your results. You need to be intentional about what you allow into your mind. That means being selective about what you read, what you watch, who you spend time with, and what conversations you engage in. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, inspire you, and expand your vision. Consume content that lifts you up and fuels your growth. Protect your mornings and your evenings, the bookends of your day, because these are the times when your mind is most impressionable. But protecting your mind is only the first step. You must also cultivate it. Just as an athlete trains their body, you must train your mind every single day, feed it with empowering beliefs, program it with powerful language, condition it to focus on solutions, not problems. Develop the habit of gratitude, because a grateful mind is a resilient mind. Practice visualization, because what you consistently see in your mind, you move toward in reality. And here's a truth that many ignore. Your mind is a muscle. The more you use it, challenge it, and stretch it, the stronger it becomes. The more you settle for comfort and routine, the weaker it becomes. Growth happens at the edge of your comfort zone, so seek out experiences that challenge your thinking. Read books that stretch your perspective. Engage in conversations that force you to think differently. Take on goals that require you to become more than you are today. At the same time, understand that your mind needs rest and recovery. Just as a bodybuilder doesn't train the same muscle every day, you must give your mind time to recharge. That means quality sleep. That means unplugging from constant stimulation. That means creating space for reflection, meditation, and stillness. In today's hyper-connected world, mental rest is not a luxury, it's a necessity for peak performance. Another key to cultivating your mind is managing your self-talk. The most powerful conversations you will ever have are the ones you have with yourself. If you constantly tell yourself, "I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I always fail," those thoughts will become your reality. You must upgrade your internal dialogue. Speak to yourself as a leader, as a champion, as someone destined to make a difference. Replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones. Program your mind to expect success, to embrace challenges, to see setbacks as setups for comebacks. And remember this, your mind is either your greatest ally or your greatest enemy. If you neglect it, it will sabotage you. If you train it, it will serve you. The choice is yours. You can't always control what happens around you, but you can always control how you interpret and respond to it. And that power lies in the quality of your thinking. The most successful, fulfilled people on the planet are relentless about mastering their minds. They know that external success is always preceded by internal mastery. They invest time every day in cultivating a mindset of growth, resilience, and abundance. They understand that the battle is won or lost in the mind long before it shows up in results. So treat your mind like the priceless asset it is. Protect it fiercely. Cultivate it daily, because when your mind is strong, focused, and empowered, there is no limit to what you can create. If you want to change your life, you must raise your standards. Nothing will shift permanently until your standards shift first. You can set goals, create vision boards, read every self-help book on the planet, but if your standards stay the same, your life will stay the same. Because we don't get what we want. We get what we tolerate. We get what we are committed to. We get what is consistent with the identity and standards we hold for ourselves. Look at any area of your life, your body, your relationships, your finances, your business, your happiness. Right now, the results you're experiencing are a reflection of the standards you've been willing to accept. If you're tired of being out of shape, it's because somewhere along the line, you accepted a standard of poor health. If your finances are a mess, it's because you've tolerated that level of chaos. If your relationships are unsatisfying, it's because you've accepted a lower standard of communication or connection. Raising your standards is not about perfection. It's about refusing to settle for less than you know you're capable of. It's about drawing a line in the sand and saying, "This is who I am now. This is what I expect of myself. This is what I will no longer tolerate." That decision, when it's real, when it's internalized, when it's backed by action, has the power to transform everything. But here's the catch. Most people talk about raising their standards, but they never truly commit. They dabble, they hope, they say, "I should eat better," or "I should work harder," or "I should be more disciplined." And should never changes your life. You have to turn your shoulds into musts. I must be healthy. I must create financial freedom. I must have extraordinary relationships. When something becomes a must, your brain finds a way. When it's just a should, you'll keep making excuses. You must also understand that your standards are not just about what you demand from the world, they're about what you demand from yourself. It starts with the small things. Do you follow through on your commitments even when no one is watching? Do you show up with energy and focus every day? Do you maintain discipline when it's uncomfortable? Because the way you do anything is the way you do everything. If you let yourself off the hook in small areas, those patterns will bleed into the big ones. Raising your standards also means upgrading your environment. Who you surround yourself with matters. If you're spending time with people who settle, who make excuses, who lower their standards, that energy will infect you. But if you surround yourself with people who expect excellence, who push you to grow, who model high standards, you will naturally elevate. Success leaves clues, and proximity is power. Now, raising your standards is not a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. Life will constantly test you. Situations will arise that tempt you to lower the bar. People will challenge your boundaries. Your old habits will try to pull you back to comfort. That's when your standards matter most, when it's hard, when you're tired, when no one would blame you for settling. Every time you hold the line, you strengthen your identity. You reinforce to yourself that you are someone who demands more. And here's something powerful. The moment you raise your standards and truly commit to them, your behavior will change automatically. You won't have to force it, you'll feel compelled to act in alignment with your new identity. If you raise your standard for health, you'll naturally make different food choices. If you raise your standard for leadership, you'll start speaking and acting with more conviction. The external shifts because the internal has shifted first. Finally, remember this: raising your standards is not about comparison. It's not about being better than anyone else. It's about being better than you were yesterday. It's about closing the gap between your potential and your performance. It's about honoring the calling inside you that knows you are capable of more. Because when you live from that place, when you consistently raise your standards and live in alignment with them, you not only change your own life, you inspire others to do the same. And that ripple effect can change the world.